never seen a smile so big on my little Lord lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bacon, I make plans for 7:45, and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, sir. Good evening, folks. How is everyone doing this evening? Hope all you are well. I'm sure you're all sort of chomping at the bit, getting ready for Christmas vacation and the holidays that are soon upon us. It's amazing how time flies. Like I can't believe we're talking about Christmas already. I don't know. I'm probably not the only one. I'm sure Jeremy, Steve, you're just like me. I can't believe how fast this year has gone. Nice to see you, Jeremy. Nice to see you, Steve. Tony's in the house. Always a pleasure to see you. Richard's here. Rob, nice to see you, my friend. Lloyd, we got Sask is representing. Yeah, baby. Bob Bissonette is in the house. Walter, holy smokes. Is everybody from Saskatchewan, or at least the CFN chapter in Saskatchewan with us tonight? Walter's here. Holy jumping. This is amazing. Shane Richard's with us. Whoa. This is fantastic. Love seeing all you folks stop in here every Monday as you do. Again, it's all about building community, and tonight we're going to have a little bit of fun. It's trivia time, and unfortunately, Jim's not going to be with us today. He's on the road. He's traveling. He might make it later. Who knows? We'll see. But we've got Lawrence and we got Jay tonight that we're gonna try and see what we can do to stump them when it comes to Canadian fishing related trivia. So get a piece of paper, get a pen, because we're all going to do this. We're all going to do this, and it's going to be fun. There's 20 questions. You're going to write down what you think is the right answer first. You can put it in the comments if you wish, and then we're going to go back and we'll review the question, and we'll give you the 4 choices. So there'll be multiple choices, but the first answer you give will be, just be honest. Be honest. It's the honor system here. But you're going to write down what you think is the correct answer. And of course, if there is a tie between Jay and Lawrence in terms of the number of questions they get right, there is a bonus question, and the bonus question is pretty cool. All right, so stay tuned to that. The other thing, of course, I wanted to make mention, other than hello to everyone, and it's awesome to see. Look at all of you. This is fantastic. A-Rod's in the house. Mr. Cardin is here. Jim's nice to see you. Crelo, Tyler, it's nice to see you, my friend. Steven's in the house. Corey, good to see you as well. I can't say enough about all of the folks that have written, and our guest last week just hit it out of the park. Tessa, I can't thank you enough for joining us. It was awesome meeting most of your family, talking to your dad especially. You've got some great mentorship there, and we will definitely be eyeing your future, because I have a feeling you are going to be showing up a lot in the very near future. And Tessa, we really, really look forward to seeing you blossom into a steward, a mentor, and an icon in the fishing industry. Show of hands, I'm not the only one that thinks she's going to be something in the future. I know for a fact. The other thing, of course, it is the Christina Kodaluk fundraiser. The draw is going to be on Boxing Day. We are not going to have a CFN Live Christmas Day. We will be doing it Boxing Day, and we will be drawing all the prizes. So for all those who have donated, and I know I have to update the list. I've got the book. I've got everything written down. I just got to update the page and the post so that all of you folks are correctly identified and submitted on all of the prizes that are available. I'm hoping I'm going to have a few surprises as we get closer. to Boxing Day in terms of some additional cool prizes. But needless to say, for right now, this is what is available, and I can't thank these folks enough. So have a listen. It's the out of province prizes. Big shout out to Chuck D from Bait and Bite Me for their prize pack. Thanks, Chuck. We also have a mini Stanley Cup signed by the one and only Marcel Dion. Thanks, A-Rod from Mad Cam Plastics for your prize pack. And a big shout out to Shimano for offering up this Noski 2500 reel. Thanks to the Cabby Custom family and Robbie and the girls for putting this great prize pack together. To Ugly Boys Baits and the Downs family, thanks for your offering in this incredible prize pack. Big shout out to Big Jim for all the stuff that he's handed me over the years. We finally put a prize pack together, and we're looking forward to offering that up. So big shout out to Big Jim. James Meager from Meags Lures also has an extensive prize pack. Thanks again, James, for your generosity. And last but not least, we have Chris Yalowicka from Y'all-Eye Fish Lures. If you're a toothy critter, you gotta love your Y'all-Eye lures. Next up are our Ontario-based prizes, which include a day out on the water with Colin Stass and Mike Howard of Twisted Circle Chrome. Thanks, gents, for offering up your time. Really appreciate it. Brian Sturch of Burning Baits Guide Service has also offered up a day of targeting muskie. Captain Tyler Brooks of Slaunch Donkey. He's a multi-species angler, so we're not really sure what you're going to be targeting with Tyler. All I know is you're going to have a lot of fun. To our good friends Adam and Mishi from Fishing Fanatics, again, a great day out on the water with these two. Likely you're going to be targeting walleye, but could also be salmon. To our good buddy Sparkus from Sparkus Fishing Charters, he's offered up a day out on the water, which will likely be on St. Clair, either targeting walleye or smallies. And of course, the Fanatics Outdoor Adventures, who also will be targeting muskie. Thanks again to Jen and Scott for making this donation. And the grand prize, the Big Daddy, is from Camp McIntosh. And a big shout out to Andre and Tracy for their offering of a 2-night stay at Camp McIntosh, targeting smallies, walleyes, muskies, pike, and just about anything else that bites. Either way, you're going to have a great time at Camp Mac. Yes, you are. A great time indeed at Camp Mac. And to all those who have already donated, I thank you. Again, it's hard to believe that we have lost Christina. Huge part of our community. It is a big void. And this is, as I said, whatever we're able to collect is going to help pay for the remainder of the funeral expenses. And then what we'd like to do with the excess is build a trust fund for young Cassidy. And that girl's world has been flipped upside down. So I'd love to be able to help her financially, that when she does decide to either go to school or what she does in the future, we'd love to help her out. So we're thinking of the entire Kotelik family and all the friends and family that have been affected by this devastating news. But if you folks are like me and you want to help out, by all means, please send your e-transfer to scottiesoutdoors@gmail.com. It is $25 to enter. You can now purchase multiple squares or spots on the wheel. The wheels are getting large. We have, as I said, out of province as well as in province, or both. Those from, say, Saskatchewan, for the folks from Saskatchewan that are watching, obviously an Ontario guide or charter is not going to work for you. So we'll have you qualify for the out of province prizes. And as I said, we're going to be doing this draw on Boxing Day. So to all of those folks who have donated and either prizes or money, I can't thank you enough. It's awesome. It makes it all worthwhile running a fishing community like you folks, It's easy. You make it easy. So thanks for all of that. And we will continue to collect money going forward in an effort, as I said, to help the only way CFN knows how. So this is a call to arms. If you have a little bit of cash lying around, throw it together, put it in a bag, roll it up, do whatever you have to do. But as I said, anything and everything helps out in a huge way. So I appreciate that already, and I thank you in advance. The other thing I wanted to mention, and Jim's not going to like me for doing this because we certainly don't want to bring light to this. In a lot of cases, I don't think most of us have had a hard water season yet. We're still waiting for the summer to end, or I should say the fall. I'm just kidding. Saturday was incredible. If you lived out this way, holy smokes, Saturday was just gorgeous. Absolute great day. If you were out fishing, God bless you. We lived vicariously through you, I'll tell you. But it is going to be the hard water season. And what I'm going to say is I saw this today and I thought I'd share it. Don't be like these folks.
Today, we salute you, Mr. Ice Fishing Guy. While the average man huddles indoors, patiently waiting for 3 feet of ice, you defy physics and common sense, boldly venturing onto a 2-inch sheet with a 96 Ford Bronco and 5 rusty tip-ups.
Keep on driving.
In a remarkable blend of Jesus and Evel Knievel, you walk on that water with the grace of a miracle worker and the mind of a madman.
Look at me.
With the concentration of a professional athlete, your mission is clear. To return home with no less than 3 prized perch and a legendary bluegill without having to call 911.
So a little reverse psychology. I know Jim will probably be upset at me when he sees this, but folks, just don't be like those folks. Wait for it to be safe ice. And Sean, yeah, ice fishing definitely sucks when you fall through. So we're hoping to avoid that. But needless to say, it's awesome to have you, Quinter, with us tonight. Hopefully you got the do happening. That was a heck of a post. If you want a good laugh, go over to Sean Quinn's storyline, and I believe he's dressing up like the big guy in the red suit. But it's 4 or 5 posts in his story. It's pretty hilarious. And if you know Quinn, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, I will say that this is the end of what announcements I have. Stay tuned. We're going to be doing the trivia momentarily, and right up next, right after a word from our sponsors.
When it comes to Canadian food, we've got your back with flavors like lemon pepper, beer batter, campfire barbecue, lemon pepper dill, garlic butter and chives, and crispy Cajun. We've got a mix for every meal. Whether you're serving East Coast shrimp, West Coast salmon, succulent walleye, chicken wings, or veggies, we've got you covered. Coat your food in outdoor flavors. Available online or at these fine retailers.
Want to know the difference between power bait and other soft plastics? Ask the fish. Berkeley scientists have. Thousands of flavors tested on thousands of fish. Natural. Man-made. Every bait that's ever hit the water. No matter the shape, size, or color, power bait is the only one that is scientifically proven. Fish bite and will not let go.
Good evening, Lawrence. Your mic's off.
There you go. How you doing?
We got Jay's with us as well. As we mentioned, Jim's not going to be with us tonight. He is traveling to and from Pearson International, so we wish him well on safe travels. We look forward to seeing him next week. And as opposed to next week, Lawrence, you came up with a great idea, great concept. So why don't you describe it? I'll let you describe what we're going to do next week.
You know, I think everyone loves to hear a good suggestion for a Christmas gift, especially when it relates to, you know, something we really love to do, like fishing. So I thought maybe we could all, you know, Jim and Jason and I and Scotty would come up with maybe our 5 best gift suggestions, you know, some under 20, a bunch under 20, and maybe one over 20. And just share those out. And maybe it's going to be a gift for one of your family or friends, or maybe it's going to be a gift to yourself, Boxing Day. But at least you'll have some suggestions, you know, some good ideas.
And Lawrence, as you mentioned, and Jay, you said it as well, you know, when it comes to YouTube, these kind of videos are very, very popular. Regardless of the content or origin, folks love to see ideas that perhaps they haven't thought of, and especially when it comes to angling. The three of you, when we do this next week, you're going to come up with stuff that I don't think I've thought of. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's a great idea, great concept. So thanks for coming up with that, Lawrence. Fantastic stuff. Jay, I noticed that you were at the Santa Claus parade this past weekend. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this past weekend, I'm gonna share my screen, Scotty, if I can. So this past weekend was the Turkey Point Santa Claus Parade, and this is so we all know a few of these faces. So this is the live release boat that the Long Point Bay anglers have, and they've had this boat for over 30 years, I think 35. If John's on, he will correct me, I'm sure. And these kids in this photo, I'll say kids, they're young men now. On the left is that Seth Walters. Seth actually went to daycare with Trevor, and they've been buddies since. And then, of course, the two goofballs in the middle, Trevor and Owen, are resident kayakers around here. And then on the right we have Zach DeReister. Now Zach, same lineage as Trevor and Owen. These guys all went to grade school together. Zach and actually Owen were on my baseball team when I was coaching ball before COVID. So, and then John on the right, and then of course you can recognize the reindeer in the top, Stephanie doing her reindeer thing. But this, I'm going to just zoom in here. So this is, and poor Heather, she didn't expect to be in the float. And I said, honey, you're in the float today. You and I are going to ride in the boat. So there's the boat all decorated up. The kids decorated it. We had Christmas music playing. Stephanie did a playlist. And when Santa calls, you answer that call. You know what I mean? So Santa called us. He was in Turkey Point this weekend, and he said, need some help. And so we answered, and we had a real fun time. And Scotty, you said the weather this weekend, like even on Sunday, it was like 6 degrees. It was supposed to rain. It was supposed to snow. None of that happened. So for a Santa Claus parade, it was just about the best that you could ask for. And I think I have one more picture just to show of us with Santa. So and we the group collectively, the parade raised over $2,500 for London Children's Hospital. And I think in the past, Brad will correct me if I'm wrong, but in the past 10 or 15 years, I think they've raised over $250,000 for London Children's Hospital. So London has the Western Children's Hospital, so it kind of services like where I live, and then down towards Chatham and Windsor and up around, up sort of the Huron side of things. So we all have our regional children's hospitals. There's Toronto. What's the children's hospital in Ottawa, Lawrence?
CHEO.
CHEO. So, I think a lot of us are involved in these great fundraisers, and so it was just great to be involved in that one. So no fishing for me this weekend. Trevor and Owen were out getting some steelhead again. I was busy family stuff on Saturday, but I got to ride in a boat on Sunday. Just didn't get wet. That's okay.
That's awesome. Fantastic. Now, as Jeremy mentioned, were you the last float?
No, actually, we were like the first ones. We laughed because it was the firefighters. It was our local MPP, Bobby Brady. She was right in front of us, and then we were right there. Like we were like the VIPs in the parade. It was great. Now, this is the Turkey Point Santa Claus Parade. This is not Toronto Santa Claus Parade, not the Hamilton Santa Claus Parade. There was a lot of side-by-sides in the parade, golf carts, but it's a lot of great folks who, if you come down and you hang out, you spend some time in the summer around Turkey Point, Long Point, that Long Point Bay area, it's a lot of familiar businesses. Like the Sandbar got some business on the weekend, which is a local bar and grill. R&R Outdoors, which is Jimmy Riggin Charters. They're out of Long Point. So it just, everybody steps up. And it's really cool because at this time, it's also holiday time and people are low on funds. And, we're going through a bit of a tough time economically for everyone. To see everyone step up and do a little bit, support them like that, it's love it. So happy to be part of it.
Beautiful stuff, Jay. Great to hear. Lawrence, I heard you you christened the old side-by-side.
I swear on my heart, I did not drive the machine. Honest to God.
Slow and steady.
It was so. I was putting the insurance on. I'm talking to the insurance agent, and she goes, "Oh, okay. So who's the driver?" And I said, "Oh, I couldn't put a name on this, so I put my wife's name on it." And he goes, "And will you be driving?" And I said, "No, I think I mentioned I'm blind." Okay, so you won't be driving. No, I won't be driving it. I promise. But she asked me 3 times, right? I told her twice I was blind, but I think she wasn't convinced. But no, it's never a good idea for insurance or safety that I drive these machines. But it worked so well. We had there's 5 of us in it. We wanted to shake it down locally, so before we bring it up north, and just to make sure everything went well. And really, it just quiet, powerful. Never even took it out. It put it in 4-wheel drive. Kept it in rear-wheel drive, and we were going through deep snow, deep puddles, through brush, and it was just it was a lot of fun.
That's very, very cool. Right on. Well, what I'm going to ask everyone to do right now is grab a piece of paper, grab a pen. It is trivia time. We've never done this like this before, so this is a first crack at it. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. There's some really interesting questions and some even more interesting answers. So what I want you guys to do, so we're going to ask you 20 questions. Jay, Lawrence, basically you guys are going to be on the hot seat. What we're going to do is we're going to ask the question first. I'm going to post it. Okay, so you'll see it at the bottom. I want you to write down your initial answer, what your gut tells you is the answer. Because at that time, once we're done the 20 questions, once we've read out 20 questions and you've answered all 20, we're going to go back and we're going to review them. And I'm going to give you multiple choices. So I'm going to give you 4 choices. And we're going to see who got question 1 right, 2, all the way down to 20. And it's the honor system. As I said, this might be something that we involve in the future, a way to win prizes, a way to, do some great things, giveaways, what have you. But as I said, I promised that we were going to do trivia this night, and we are. So here we go. Everybody ready? As I said, write down your answers. You can post them in the comments as well. We're going to have fun with this. All right. Question 1. What is the most popular freshwater fish to catch in Canada? So write your number down. As I said, I've tried to do my very best to source the correct answer. I'm hoping that all these answers are correct, but if they are challenged, I can't wait to see some of the answers. All right, that's question 1. Question 2. Which province has the highest number of freshwater lakes in Canada? Seems like an obvious answer, but to some it may not be. Question 3. What is the most common method of catching cod in Atlantic Canada? Question number 4. What is the official national fish of Canada? I didn't even realize we had one.
National fish?
Yeah, didn't even realize we had one.
Huh. Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, I said the same thing, Lawrence.
Well, okay. I'm going to guess this.
All right. Question number 5. Which province in Canada is famous for its world-class Atlantic salmon fishing rivers? This might surprise you.
Yep.
All right. Moving right along. Hopefully we're not going too fast for folks. Which fish species is known for its migration from the ocean to fresh water? And they do it in rivers to spawn. So which fish species is known for its migration from the ocean to freshwater rivers to spawn? All right. Question number 7. Which popular fishing spot in Canada is known as the salmon capital of the world?
Oh, I know that one. Don't read my lips. I'm typing.
No, question number 8. Which Canadian province has the most lakes suitable for fishing? This was surprising, but based on the answers, the 4 answers that are 4 possible answers you're given, it'll make a lot more sense what the actual answer is. But that's question number 8. Which Canadian province has the most lakes suitable for fishing? Question number 9. What is the legal size limit for lake trout in Canada?
They have one for Call of Canada?
Apparently.
So it's set metric, eh? Metric, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to say. All right.
All right. Question number 10. Which of the Great Lakes does not border Canada?
Halfway done.
Yep. All right. Question number 11. And I can see the comments. So people are posting up all kinds of answers. So this is really cool. What is the minimum size limit in centimeters for keeping a smallmouth bass caught here in Canadian waters?
No, that would be too small.
In centimeters.
Yeah. All right. I'm sticking with that answer.
All right. Number 12. What is the maximum number of fishing lines allowed per person for tidal water fishing in Canada? So if you're fishing the tidal waters in Canada, how many lines are you allowed? Question number 13. Which of the following provinces does not have any native Atlantic salmon populations?
Which ones don't?
Yeah. Which of the following provinces? So I'm going to give you the 4 answers. Just write down the provinces that you think. Yeah. So just write down one province that you think does not have a native Atlantic salmon population.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now, question number 14. The Canadian fishing tackle company Hardy and Grays Limited predominantly focuses on which type of fishing?
All right.
Question 15. Which of the following Canadian fishing tackle companies focuses on producing fish attractants and scents?
Which one focuses on?
Focuses on producing fish attractants and scents. Now, what I'm interested. I don't know. I think so. Okay. I'm 100% sure that it's a Canadian company, but I could be proven wrong tonight. Number 16. Who is known as the father of Canadian sport fishing? This might surprise you.
I don't know.
All right. We'll get down to question 17. Question 17 is, who is the renowned Canadian angler known as Dr. Ketchumall? You're gonna wait for the multiple. I'm just interested to see if anybody actually knows. I have a feeling Jim might be able to answer a question like this. Some of these questions, I'm sure Jim can.
Dr. Ketchumall. That's
Dr.
a great name.
Ketchumall.
I've never even heard of that. Never known who it is.
Neither have I. I didn't know the answer either. All right, question 18. Who founded the Canadian Angler Hall of Fame? Number 19. Which angler is known for popularizing fly fishing in Canada?
Oh.
the multiple choice will definitely help when it comes to answering these.
Yeah.
If you have an initial answer, and I see there's 81 comments, holy smokes, there's some people that are answering on the fly. All right, last but not least, here is question 20.
Yeah.
Which Canadian angler holds the record for the most IGFA world records?
Wow. I'd like to meet that person. And it's not me, so I'm just telling you right now. So,
and it's not Big Jim.
I wish it was.
Now there is a bonus question. So if there is a tie,
all right,
the end of all this between you and Jay Lawrence, I will ask this question: who appeared the most as a guest on the Bob Azumi Real Fishing Show?
Ooh.
Yeah. Hey, I think we should get half points if we get an answer that made it onto your, multiple choice list.
Yeah.
What do you think? Half a point for a multiple choice, even if it's not the right answer. 1 point if it's the right answer. Half a point if it's on the list.
All right. Very good.
That way, I'll have more.
It won't necessarily be correct, but yes. So I'm going to write down here, Jay, and Lawrence. All right. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right. Question number 1. Let's get back up to the top. I want to see what some of the answers. So question number 1, what is the most popular game fish? I love some of the answers. This is awesome. Okay.
Well, if Jim was here, he'd say pickerel because you know how much he loves pickerel. But, yeah, I'm saying walleye. I'm saying
smallmouth bass. I'm saying smallies.
So believe it or not, the answers are either largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, perch, or walleye. Those are your 4 choices.
So we're both on the list there, Jay. We're both going to get a half point at least.
I'm thinking with walleye. I think in every province it is either first or maybe not in BC or a couple of the maritime provinces, but it's usually top of the list in Canada. So I'm sticking with walleye.
I'm thinking the scourge of smallies. They're all through Atlantic Canada now. I think they're out west, so I think they've got way more distribution than walleye. So that's why I went with smallmouth.
So believe it or not, it was a study that was conducted not that long ago. And believe it or not, walleye was head and shoulders above every other species of fish. Yeah, there wasn't actually a species of fish that was close other than, say, perch. Perch was probably the closest. So I will give Jay a full point. And Lawrence, you get half a point. All right. Okay, question number, and I'm hoping everybody else, I hope folks got that right. That's going to be the easiest, I think, to answer of all the questions. Question number 2, which province has the highest number of freshwater lakes in Canada?
That's a tough one. That one has me stumped. Yeah. Is this a multiple choice or is this you got to know?
No, it's a multiple choice.
All right.
Because I would love to know how many lakes are up, freshwater lakes are in, say, Northwest Territories.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So anyway, your choices are.
But that's not a province, though. That's a territory.
You're right. But I'm thinking folks could answer. But
Lawrence, doing a board game with you is like playing with Heather. She's gonna twist those rules to make sure you get it right.
Well, you put down NWT, did you? You're not on the list, I'm sure. No, I don't know. Scotty put the thing together. It could be anything.
Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. I'm just hoping I'm right, but I'm pretty sure that we do have the right one. So
I said Ontario.
So and Jay, what did you say?
I said Ontario, but I put a little question mark. Every one I have, you can't see. I have a question mark beside the ones where I'm not sure, but I'm saying Ontario.
Okay, so here are your multiple choice answers. It's either Alberta, Yukon, Ontario, or Manitoba.
Yukon's a territory, buddy.
There you go.
I'm sticking with Ontario.
Definitely not Alberta, because I talked to the Alberta Association, and they only bubble. They put aerators in their like 40 or 50 lakes, so the fish don't smother in the wintertime.
Yeah,
but they don't have a lot of lakes in Alberta.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, good answer. So what's your final answer then, Lawrence?
Ontario, like Jay.
I have to say, most folks I think would have gotten that correct too. I don't know anybody that would have gotten it. If you have those four choices, Ontario, Manitoba's close. Not gonna lie, it's probably the closest.
Really?
Quebec would be another one that's very close.
I was torn between. I was sticking with Ontario, but I was thinking about either Manitoba or Quebec. There's so much fresh water in those two places, right?
And I don't know how many. If you were to compare Ontario and Quebec, who has more? But luckily, it's not on the list as one of the choices. So Ontario is the correct answer. So we will give both of you a point for that. All right. Question number 3. Hopefully everybody got question number 2 right. Here's question number 3. What is the most common method of catching cod in Atlantic Canada? What did you say, Jay?
A hand line.
I would have said the same thing, or jigging, right? Jigging or hand line. Lawrence, what would you have said?
I said a jig.
So this was surprising. I would have said jigging as well.
Oh, yeah. It's a long line.
It is. Not... So here are your multiple choice answers: jigging, fly fishing, spear fishing, or bottom fishing.
Oh yeah, it could be bottom fishing with long lines. That's how they did it on the schooners, right? The schooner would set out 6 or 7 little rowboats, and each rowboat would have 2 guys, a box of bait, and another box full of line with hooks on it, and they would bait the hooks and let it out the back of the rowboat and let it sink to the bottom. And the sailboat would sail around, set out all the boats, 6 or 8 of these rowboats, and then come back around. And by the time it came back around, it would come by, it would throw you a hook, you'd hook it onto the front of your little punt, and then you'd come alongside the schooner, you'd unload your cod, and they'd give you a fresh box of bait, and then they'd release you, and you'd do it all over again. And then that schooner would just sail around and around and around. And if you missed the hook, when they threw you the hook, because they wouldn't come back around for another 2 or 3 hours or 4 hours, right? You got screamed at. I learned this from an old Newfoundlander that used to do it.
And probably got yelled at a lot, so you know.
Well, I can only understand about half of what he said, but I got that much out of it.
So what are you going to say? Are you going to say jigging?
I said jig, but I think bottom is probably more accurate.
What do you think, Jay?
I'm doing what Lawrence is doing, but I think after you read them all, I'm going to stick with my answer because I do believe that's the only one I'm really familiar with. But I think that the bottom fishing is probably going to win.
Yes, it is actually. Bottom fishing is the number one way to
so
target.
We got half a point, Jay, because I wrote down jigging too. So I'm not changing. I'm just, when you put it there, I thought, okay, now we're talking commercial fishing as well. So
I would have thought hand lining for sure. I mean, even the commercial inshore commercial anglers use hand lining. But anyway,
that's what I did. That's what I did when I was.
I've done it as well. Anybody who's gone out east, if you've hand lined for it's much like fishing for walleye, really is what it is. But it's a lot of fun. An easy way to catch fish. I can't get over how big those cod get. Holy smokes, they're a big fish. All right, question number 4. This was something I didn't realize Canada had, which is, what is the official national fish of Canada? Here are your choices: rainbow trout, sturgeon, lake trout, or walleye.
Well, I said lake trout.
Okay.
I didn't say either one, any of those. So because I read somewhere at some point through history, because of our long tradition, that cod is really what Canada is known for, like historically. Like cod fishing is what we're known for across the globe. I know it's not in every province. And I there's something about brook trout too that I read at some point, because brook trout's pretty common across most of the country. But yeah, I said cod, so I'm off the list. So yeah.
And you said lake trout? Lawrence?
Yeah, just because I think it's in so many lakes, right? It's so many lakes across Canada. And I was going to think of salmon, but then, that's just the coast. So I said lake trout is sort of the iconic fish.
Well, the actual answer, believe it or not, and I was stunned, sturgeon.
Wow.
Really?
Sturgeon is the official national fish of Canada. I don't know anybody that got that right. It certainly wasn't I.
Yeah.
I would have thought lake trout myself, or like you said, cod. That is the answer. If anybody got that right, kudos to you.
I was interviewing the guy who that Zeb Hogan who does fish monsters on National Geographic.
Yep.
And he just wrote a book on the biggest freshwater fish around the world. He's caught them all. And I said, well, what about beluga sturgeon? I said, in Russia, that's the biggest fish. He goes, he said it's 4,000 pounds. It was over 20 feet long, but it's not a freshwater fish. It goes into the ocean and comes back. Same as the green and white sturgeon on the west coast of Canada.
Right.
They swim into the ocean and come back. Actually, they'll swim out of the Fraser River and go down to the Columbia and then swim back up. But they're I forget the term he used, but they're not strictly freshwater fish.
Interesting. Wow. We're learning and learning on top of learning. That's awesome. Thanks for that, Lawrence. Okay, question number 5. Which province in Canada is famous for its world-class Atlantic salmon fishing rivers? Go ahead, Lawrence.
New Brunswick.
Okay. Jay, what was yours?
So I'm torn between two places. So I said New Brunswick, but I was thinking about Labrador. But I'm saying New Brunswick. I think a lot of the world-class, the well-referenced rivers in Ontario, in Canada for Atlantic salmon are New Brunswick rivers. That's my guess.
Yeah.
So I probably would have picked New Brunswick too. However, it was not one of the 4 answers.
What?
Yeah, it was not one of the 4. It doesn't necessarily mean that this answer is the most correct, but of the 4 choices you had, this was the province that is famous for its Atlantic salmon. It is not PEI.
No.
It is
They don't have
not
any rivers.
Nova Scotia.
No way.
And
That was
it
my
is
second
not
choice.
Newfoundland.
It's Quebec.
It's Quebec.
Because of Labrador. Really? They don't even have Labrador. Like Labrador's part of Newfoundland. Wow, it's Quebec. Holy mackerel.
Quebec. I was stunned to hear that. Now, we have talked a lot about how our oceans are warming and that a lot of these migrations are moving further north of the fish that require colder water.
Yeah.
So it does kind of make sense, but not to have New Brunswick, not to have Labrador, Newfoundland, I was stunned. I was surprised to see Quebec as the answer. Anybody else get that right? Let me go over to the comments and see. Correct. Yeah, obviously East Coast. Yeah.
Ed's saying correct. Ed's saying, I think it sounds like Ed agrees with Quebec.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Right on. Well, Ed, if you got that right, my friend, you are a winner chicken dinner. No. All right. Question number 6. Which fish species is known for its migration from the ocean to freshwater rivers to spawn? There's a few, but here are the answers that were given. So you have to pick the correct of these 4. Is it mackerel? Is it cod? Is it striped bass? Or is it the blue shark?
Wow. You know what? I said tomcod, which is a kind of a cod, right? Because that's what they do. But if I had to do it again, I'd probably pick striped bass after reading that list. But I wrote down tomcod, so that's my answer.
Yeah, of those species, I'm saying striped bass. And that's what that. But I didn't have that answer though. I didn't even think about those. I actually wrote down salmon, like Chinook. I wrote down salmon in brackets, Chinooks, coho, chum, the stuff we've been talking about. So,
and that's not a wrong answer. It's not. I mean, there's how many salmon species are there? Like, I mean, holy smoke! But when they give these 4 answers, striped bass was the answer. And
of that list, striped bass is the answer for sure.
I was surprised to see blue shark as one of the choices. I don't.
Really?
I do. Well, I know bull sharks go into brackish and freshwater, but I didn't think.
Oh yeah, they do.
Blue
nasty
shark
things.
Yeah,
those bull sharks are nasty. Out of 400 species of shark, there's 5 that are known to chew on people, and bull shark is right up there.
Right up there, 100%.
And they go into freshwater rivers. They'll swim up the St. Lawrence. They even spotted some around Montreal.
What? Bull sharks?
Yeah, bull sharks. Bull sharks. They come up. They don't. It doesn't happen often, but they come up rivers. Yeah, they'll come way up rivers.
Yikes! All right. Well, remind me never to fall out of a boat. Now, question number 7, and Lawrence, I'm almost positive you're going to get this right.
Oh, you're jinxing me.
Which popular fishing spot in Canada is known as the salmon capital of the world?
No, I better get this right.
Is it Banff? Is it the Campbell River? Is it Jasper? Or is it Victoria, BC?
It's Port Alberni. They call themselves the
well, anybody can. I'll call Brampton the capital, the walleye capital of the world. It doesn't mean it's right.
Okay, so what's the? I put down Port Alberni. What are the Victoria? That's not Victoria. What are the choices again? What are
They
the four?
are Banff,
No.
Campbell River,
Yeah.
Jasper, or Victoria, BC.
So I think if you said, so I said Vancouver Island, because if you're going to talk about Pacific salmon, so I'm going to give myself half a mark for Vancouver. Yeah. But honestly, like,
Good for you.
there's so many great places. Like I'm thinking about Campbell River, Port Hardy, Victoria.
Yeah.
Like that's all Vancouver Island. I think if anyone on this call tonight said any of those places on Vancouver Island, give himself half a mark. That's,
So
that's
you're both going to get a half a mark because you both targeted BC as the capital of the world. Believe it or not, it's the Campbell River is the correct answer. The Campbell River is known as the salmon capital of the world.
Wow. It must go way back in time, eh?
which
It
is
must go
on
way
Vancouver
back.
Island.
It's not?
Which is on Vancouver Island.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
we're good.
So-
We're good.
Okay. Now we're getting down to the home stretch of the first half. Okay,
Yeah.
question. So I gave you both a point for that one.
Yep.
Question number 8. Which Canadian province has the most lakes suitable for fishing? Now, I think everyone would have answered Ontario.
Mhm.
Out of these 4 choices, which Canadian province has the most lakes suitable for fishing? Manitoba, Saskatchewan, New Brunswick, or Alberta? Let's see what the folks just to get.
Well, I broke down Ontario, but if it's not on the list, I'd say Manitoba then.
Manitoba. What do you say, Jay?
So I said I actually had a line here. I had Manitoba down, and then I actually crossed it out, and I put British Columbia because I thought suitable for fishing, and I was thinking it was going to go the lines of like edible fish, like where can we eat fish and what fish are edible to eat and stuff like that. So which lakes have fewer restrictions? That's where my mind went based on all the great talks we have. So, I actually, so Manitoba I was torn with, but I actually went with British Columbia in the end. But
Interesting. Well, some great answers here from Soley, who said Manitoba. Jeremy said New Brunswick. Mike Howard says Manitoba as well. The correct answer, Ed McKenzie got it. It's Saskatchewan.
Wow. Yay, Saskatchewan.
So of those 4 provinces, Manitoba, New Brunswick, and Alberta, Saskatchewan has the most. Very, very cool.
I wonder
Okay.
if it has to do with all the water embayments that have been created by the government. They created all these canals and lakes, and they're actually getting rid of them now. They don't want to look after them anymore. So they've said they're going to release these dams and empty out a lot of these lakes because they don't want to be burdened with the cost of running all these lakes in Saskatchewan. And I guess the Saskatchewan government, I don't know if they've ever stepped up to take them over or not, but yeah, that's been it's been a point of contention now for a few years.
Interesting. Well, congratulations, Saskatchewan, for making the top of the list of those 4 provinces. Moving on to a bit of a trick question.
Mm-hmm.
What is the legal size limit for lake trout in Canada? Is it 30 centimeters? Is it 18 centimeters? Is it 12 centimeters? Or is there no limit at all? What was your initial answer, Jay?
I was being my regulatory stuff, and I was saying there is no size limit for lake trout. It's variable by region, right? So it's there's slot sizes. When it comes to length, there aren't restrictions, but there's not one broadly used across the country. That's at least one that's enforced that I'm aware of.
So that is a great point. And to your point, Jay, this is the one question that I would like to challenge because
Yeah.
it's got to be basically water body specific.
Yes.
There's no way that there's a Canadian size limit for lake trout.
Yeah.
So the correct answer is, of course, there is no size limit because it is probably water specific, water body specific, and location specific as well. So as I said, there is no limit when it comes to lake trout, but I will give both of you a half a point.
I said there's no limit.
There you go. Oh, you
Yeah.
did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you both got a point.
Yeah, because it's provincial jurisdiction, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. So, and that might be the trick part of the question is there is no limit because it is provincially enforced. All right. Question number 10. Which of the Great Lakes does not border Canada?
Not get you goomy.
Is it Lake Huron? Is it Lake Michigan? Is it Lake Superior? Or is it Lake Erie? This one should be fairly easy for folks to get. A lot of folks got no limit. Good for you on the previous question. Yep. Tony says Michigan. Ed says Michigan.
It's Michigan. It's got to
Kevin
be
Fox
Michigan.
says Michigan. Yeah.
No.
Were your answers both Michigan?
Yeah, that's what I got. Yeah.
All right. We both got it. Both of you got a point for that. All right. Good for all of you for getting the correct answer to that question. Question number 11.
You know, only an angler would know that. You know,
100%.
Because you think of what lakes can I go to without having to go across the border to go fishing.
I'd like to think a kid taking geography would know the answer to that as well, but again, I digress. All right, here we're back to a size limit question again. What is the minimum size limit in centimeters for keeping a smallmouth bass caught in Canadian waters? Is it 20 centimeters? Is it 30 centimeters? Is it 25 centimeters? Or is it 35 centimeters? Again, I didn't realize there was a size limit when it came to bass. I don't know of any slot limits for bass.
Now, I said there was, again, it's provincial jurisdiction, so I didn't think there was a Canadian limit, like a Canadian.
Yeah, I said the same. I can remember arguing with somebody at some point that it was to do with bass tournaments. They're arguing with me about there is a size restriction on smallmouth, and I'm like and I argued that there wasn't. And I think they argued with me that it was 30 centimeters or 12 inches. But I'm sticking with there is no size restriction on smallmouth bass legally in Canada.
Yeah,
like that's broadly used across all jurisdictions.
So I can't challenge the answer. What I did was exactly what you just described. Is I went province to province to see what slot limits there were for bass, to see if there was any for smallmouth, and in fact there is not. Surprisingly enough, there is not, but there is a Canadian minimum, and that minimum, believe it or not, is 25 centimeters.
Huh.
Who knew?
That's a pretty good size smallie.
Yeah.
And I thought like up in northwestern Ontario, they were actually discussing just removing limits and seasons altogether on smallmouth because they had way too many of them. They were worried about them eating the walleye and the trout, and they just wanted people to go out and catch them as many as they could. But I don't know where that argument landed in the end. Do you know, Jay, what happened with that?
No, I don't know. No.
Interesting. So yeah, 25 centimeters. I could not dispute it, but there was nothing to back it up either. And I looked and looked and looked. So folks, if you find something that is contrary to what the answer I just gave is, by all means, please send it to me. I'd love to know. Okay, this is a tough one, and I don't think I forgot. So 0, 0, 12. All right, so here we are on the title. This is the title question. What is the maximum number of fishing lines allowed per person for tidal waters fishing in Canada? So if you don't know where that is, it's usually on the East Coast or on the West Coast, unless you are in, say, Saginaw and La Bay, where it's tidal up there. I'm sure there's a few other instances along Labrador that are tidal waters. Quebec, I'm sure, has some. A bunch of our provinces on the East Coast, I'm sure, have plenty. But when it comes to tidal waters in Canada, how many lines are you allowed? Is it 1, 2, 3, or 4?
Wow. When I used to go down to North Carolina and take part in these international pier fishing tournaments, it was the guys could fish 5, but in the tournament you could only fish 1. But anyone who went out on a pier, you could fish 5 lines at a time. And I thought that was just, and people would actually do it. They would just have 5 rods leaning against the railing. They'd make little notches in the wooden railing so the rods wouldn't slip sideways. And they would just put their 5 lines out. And when the fishing got heavy, man, then they would just, reduce their number of rods. But when it was slow, they kept their 5 out there. But I put 2 because I had no idea in Canada.
Okay. That's great. And Tony would agree exactly with that. Sully's saying 1. Mark is saying 4. Mike Howard's saying 4. Jeremy Guest 5. So along your point, what you just said, Lawrence, it's quite possible that a lot of folks see that. Lynn, you and me both. I'd be in a hot mess if I had 4 lines.
I said 2. That was my number. But.
So both of you got the right answer. 2 is
Yay, Jay!
Right. Good for you, folks. That was a tough one.
2 is just like, even with the new carp rules, like 3 lines guaranteed. That's going to be a cluster. A cluster cuss is what that's going to be if I'm using 3 lines. Like, and the more lines I'm going to use, and if anyone out there who, even going on Erie, guys, like if I'm out on Main Lake Erie, I can use 2 lines, but I don't like using 2 lines because guaranteed I'm going to end up losing more fish than I land because it turns into just a mess, right? So I think 2 is like a magic number for a lot of fisheries when if they're going to be nice enough to give us the opportunity to use more than one line. 2 is going to be your limit, but I thought it might have been more, but I'm sticking with 2, and I'm glad I did.
No, me too. And I was thinking about
Ed
surf
said
fishing.
12. Ed, what
12?
What family traditions do you have, Ed? How big is the freezer in your garage, Ed? 12 lines.
1 for each finger.
And Tony, I have to call it a cluster cuss. That's what we call it at work. That's as far as I'm allowed to go with that kind of language at work in an open forum. It's cluster cuss.
This opens up, and we would digress. Do you think it should be 2 in all of Ontario?
No. It goes back to the gourd pies or greed factor. We're greedy enough as it is. We harvest too many fish with 1 line, let alone using 2.
But you can't, like Jay said, you're saying, when you're out on Lake Ontario, you can use 2 lines per person. When you're ice fishing, you can use 2 lines in Ontario. And when you're now carp fishing, you can use, 2 or 3? I don't remember.
You're allowed up to 3 with organic bait. Allowed up to 3. Yeah.
3 for carp. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So in Quebec, Mark is saying they're allowed 10 each on the ice. I can't imagine what that's.
Different states have different rules when it comes to tip-ups. There's some, I think, like Minnesota, you're allowed like 4 tip-ups. Wisconsin's like 4 if it's tip-ups or set lines. So you're not actively jigging. I believe Mark's right. It's 10 for Quebec. It's wild.
Even though you're fishing with 10 lines, as Richard says, it doesn't change the limits. You're right. But 2 on the Great Lakes, as Ed would know for many years of chartering. It's Jay is saying vegetable-based baits.
I guess you could argue that worms are organic because they're organic, right? So, it's because you can't use night crawlers. It has to be vegetable-based. So, basically like a dough ball or any kind of it actually describes it pretty well in the regulations what it is.
I think they did that so that people trying to fish for other species couldn't just say to the conservation officers, no, I'm fishing for carp, when they're in fact they're fishing for everything else,
And I think using worms, like I use worms regularly for a lot of species in the springtime, especially a lot of sort of our fish off species where I'm fishing for multi-species, like a night crawler on a small chunk of night crawler is probably the best bait you're going to use. But in all honesty, you still have to deal with the occasionally deep hooked fish with a night crawler. That does happen. So I would like it if it was night crawlers on some of these restrictions, if they were allowed, but I get why they don't have it. So
that was their big pushback all along, why they didn't go with the increase the rod limit for carp fishers, because these conservation officers were saying, how do we know? Like, how do we know these guys are really fishing for carp when we don't come up to them? They could just say that. So that was the compromise.
Jay Pierce is saying, if someone can jig 10 lines simultaneously, I just want to tip my cap. Well, Jay, I just pictured so I know Jay Pierce pretty well. I picture him walking along the pier along the lake St. Clair River and doing a Monty Python skit, with his arms out, and he's just got 6 lines, like a big Christmas sweater, just marching up and down the pier as he's jigging his lines, right? So, yeah, that's what
I have to admit, though, Kevin's point, guys are fishing muskie. If you have a chance of catching a muskie with 10 tip-ups, what a mess.
Oh, my God.
It's interesting. Richard Dunlop mentions that there's no live bait in Quebec. I don't know if that's true in the St. Lawrence. I might be wrong.
You can use live bait in Quebec if it's caught in the place where you are. That's my understanding. The last time I was there, now it's been a few years.
No, there's no minnows. There's no minnows, live or dead.
Really? Anymore?
Yeah.
Is that's
okay? No, not in Quebec. Not live or dead.
Interesting.
Either.
So how is it? What would you set up 10 tip-ups with?
You could put worms on them, but not minnows. Not even dead ones. Not pickled, not salted, nothing like that.
Interesting. All right. So that was question number 12. We are going to move on to question 13. Love all of your answers, folks. I really appreciate the interaction that we're having. It's a great discussion, and the fact that I see quite a few folks still watching is a good indication that we're having fun doing this. Question number 13. Which of the following provinces does not have any native Atlantic salmon populations? What was your initial answer, Jay?
Well, my initial answer was based on geography. So I said Saskatchewan. If you're going to go for the pure bet, there's no river, so a fish can go just about anywhere, right? So now even a native Atlantic salmon could find its way to British Columbia. It can go through the Arctic Passage, it can go there. But I went for the sure bet, which is Saskatchewan, because all the other provinces except for Alberta, they could swim up the Mackenzie River. So maybe, but I think Saskatchewan is the safest bet for non-native. So no native Atlantic salmon population, because there are populations that aren't native. So that's how I read that question. So,
well, it's a great answer. And when I give you the answer that they have provided, I was actually kind of shocked. And I would love for someone to prove me wrong on this, because this was the one question I thought was wrong. The other one was the small limit. But this one, I'm kind of shocked that this is the answer. But what was yours, Lawrence, before we go?
Alberta.
Okay.
Alberta.
Yeah, inland provinces makes perfect sense. I would have
both good answers, I think, in this situation.
So here are the 4 that they provide you. These are the 4 answers they provide you. They provide you Nova Scotia, PEI, New Brunswick, and Quebec. Those are the 4 provinces that they offer. So of those 4 provinces, Nova Scotia, PEI, New Brunswick, or Quebec.
Read the answer question again.
Yep. Which of the following provinces does not have any native Atlantic salmon populations?
Native. So all those provinces you mentioned, they have Atlantic salmon that come.
They all have native Atlantic salmon. They all do.
That come and return to those rivers on those 4 provinces, but they're not.
In fact, those are the 4 provinces other than Newfoundland. Those 4 are the only ones that have native Atlantic salmon in them. You would include Newfoundland, would be the 5th one. Yeah.
Well, I have to say, Ed's bang on. You're 100% right. PEI was the answer of those 4 provinces, and I would love for someone to correct this, because
PEI gets no Atlantic salmon returns because they just don't have the rivers, I guess.
I guess, or it's as the question states, it's based on which of the following provinces does not have any native Atlantic salmon population. So is it possible that the Atlantics that are running in PEI are all hatchery raised? I don't know.
or do they even have them? You
Or
know?
do they even have them?
Yeah.
Either way, as I said, there's a lot of correct answers. Mike got it right. Solely got it right. Yeah, a little confusing. Mark, 100%. Yeah, no inland water, 100%.
So currently in PEI, I went right to
Google,
the Canadian Science Advice Secretariat.
There you go.
And I'm just cruising through the abstract here, and it says there are 26 rivers currently occupied by salmon in PEI on the basis of red counts and spawners. They estimate in 2008, this is an older document, no, 2013, 1,246 salmon were observed spawning, and 721 were females. They produced 3.5 million eggs.
In PEI.
Yeah. This document is called The Status of Atlantic Salmon in PEI in 2013.
There you go. So bang. I am so glad you answered that for us, Jay, because I was kind of surprised.
It's not great habitat there. It's not. There are rivers there. There's lake run brook trout there too.
Yeah.
But the rivers are having a tough time, PEI. Guaranteed. I agree.
They're warm, right? Yeah, they're warm. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much farming going on. Well, PEI is known for farming.
Yeah.
Right? So, and the rivers there are not very big. So the bigger the river, the more it can. The river itself, like think of it as like a living organism. The larger the watershed, the more it can fend off problems.
Yep.
Like poor land use. And in PEI, it has small watersheds compared to the other bigger rivers in the other places. But I didn't even realize though that based on this document, because I've written similar documents before, based on that title, this document was commissioned to be prepared. Someone said we need a document to tell us what's going on with Atlantic salmon and PEI, which tells me they're not in a good place. And you're talking 1,200 salmon were observed in 2013. Now that you can't be on every river at every time, and we all know this. If I went out to the local creek here and I counted 20 steelhead, there's way more than that, right? That we know there's big errors on that estimate, but still 1,200 fish is not a lot of fish. So there you go.
Well, listen. Based on the fact, I'll give you both a point for that one, because that to me, I don't know, it's a challengeable answer, and as you just pointed out, Jay, it's quite possibly wrong. So we will stick to what they provided, which was PEI. I wasn't able to find any information to suggest otherwise, so I just stuck with it. But PEI was the answer to question number 13. 14, question 14. This is where we get into a few of the Canadian tackle-based companies. The Canadian fishing tackle company Hardy and Grays Limited predominantly focused on which type of fishing?
Jay, you should know this. I mean, your company Berkeley just bought Hardy, didn't they? So.
It's fly fishing. They are now, but they aren't. So, but they're not actually Canadian based. They're actually Hardy and Grays is based out of, I want to say out of the UK. Actually, and Hardy and Grays are known for their fly fishing, but they are one of the biggest producers, and maybe not biggest producers. They're high end. They are a high end company, and they make actually carp rods, some of the finest carp fishing rods in the world. So for coarse fish or rough fish as well. So
interesting. So not Canadian based. So that's interesting. And I to be honest with you, I've never heard of them. So Jay, I'm going to take. What was your answer, Lawrence?
I said fly fishing.
Fly fishing?
And I just Googled Port Alberni because I'm not happy about that Port Alberni. And it says has been designated the salmon capital of the world.
Now, is that on a Port Alberni website, or is that a neutral?
I'm not saying. I don't reveal my sources, Jay.
Right, I'm going to go put up my sign tonight in Delhi. Steelhead capital of Ontario.
I don't reveal like a good reporter. I don't reveal my sources.
Is this like the Otani trade? Is this where we're going with this?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, you both got it right, and Ed got it right. There's a bunch of you that got it right. those who fly fish or have done it before definitely knew the answer to that. So I will give you both a point for that. Great answer. Now this question here, 15. I was down the same rabbit hole as you just were, Jay, in regards to it being Canadian. I don't know that it is. I have a feeling it's not. If anybody can answer correctly, but which of the following Canadian fishing tackle companies focuses on producing fish attractants and scents? What was your first answer, Lawrence?
Bait fuel.
Bait fuel? Yeah.
What's his name? The Bruce Tufts, right? Queen's University. He invented that crap, man. And then he sold the the distribution rights to some company. He licenses it out, and he just took a nice 1 year off sabbatical. But yeah, I think he's doing well on that stuff.
Yeah.
I would have agreed 100% for you with you on that, Lawrence. The only thing is I don't know when this question was posted. I don't believe it was posted in a time that would represent bait fuel being around yet.
Yeah. Then it was gentle. What's that? Uncle Buck's pork rinds.
Well, Jay, what was your answer? Did you have an answer?
So I actually, the only one I know of, and I thought about Bait Cloud, but then I know that it was developed here, but I believe it was like it's still American Bait Works. Like they're the parent company that I think commissioned for that to be made. That's my understanding. Could be wrong. I said Bait Cloud. Bait Cloud is the only Canadian company that I'm aware of that's strictly working with scents, and it's strictly Canadian, because a lot of the other companies, there's Procure, there's Uncle Josh, there's Potski, there's a bunch that are really focused on scents and attractants, and most of them are US based. In fact, most of the ones I just mentioned are actually based out of the northwestern US, so out of Oregon, Washington, and Montana, out of those areas. So I'm saying Bait Cloud is the only Canadian one that I know of that is like truly Canadian. If I think they're still around, aren't they? Bait Cloud?
Yeah, I think we saw them. They were at the Ultimate Ice Fishing Show. They had a booth at
there. You go, perfect. Yeah, I thought I saw them there, but I can't recall. Yeah.
So these are the answers that they provided. Bait Cloud was the first answer they provided. Procure, as you just mentioned, Jay, was another answer. Yozura was a third answer, and then the fourth was Fish Bites. The actual answer, and again, I don't know that this is a Canadian company, is Procure.
Yeah, no, it's not. That's based out of Oregon.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. So you know what? We're going to give you both the mark, because I thought the answer was wrong too. It might be a product that's available here in Canada, but it's the question is misleading in the sense that it's establishing it as a Canadian company, and I did not think Procure was. So anybody who answered Procure, hats off to you, even though it's not necessarily a Canadian company.
Yeah, I got some here somewhere. I just don't know. It might be in the other room. I got Procure somewhere right behind me somewhere. So yeah,
right on.
They
so
make a great product.
We'll give you a point for that, because, as I said, to me it seemed like it was wrong, but that was the only one that I was concerned about. Question 16. Who is known as the father of Canadian sport fishing? Now,
I guess Zane Grey, but I have no idea. He's an author, right? That wrote all those country and western books, and he loved fishing up in Canada. But is he from Canada? I don't know.
I said Red Fisher.
That's what I said too, Jay. That's exactly what I said too. Now, believe it or not, Red Fisher was not one of the answers. The four answers that were provided were Frank Beebe, Dave Mercer, T.R. Michaels, and Gord Pizer.
They're not going back very far, eh?
No.
Yeah, they're not going back very far. That's a pretty shallow.
Red's older than all those guys, pretty much.
No offense to any of those, and I'm sure, knowing Gord and knowing Dave, if I asked them if they should be on that list, they would just tell me where to go and how to get there. So, that's a bunch of. You know what, Sky? That's a bunch of scuttlebutts. What that is? That's all scuttlebutts.
I love it.
Red Fisher.
We dated ourselves now, Jay.
Pass me the joke.
I was never the boy. I was a Boy Scout. I never got to be in front of Scuttlebutt Lodge, but I wanted to. So,
if that's the era, you should. What about Cronzy? Right? I mean,
there's a lot. Cronzy deserves to be on that list more than a couple others, and that's no offense, just because of his lineage. And listen, Kranji is a very outspoken, almost to his own fault, but he did a lot for our sport fishing in Canada and promoting it, right?
Oh,
so
yeah. Oh, yeah.
and what Daryl did, which I will give him full credit, he was one of the few shows and magazines that really traveled across the country. Like he really promoted that West Coast fishery long before a lot of others did, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, do you remember, I remember his magazine, Ontario Fisherman? You remember that?
Oh yeah.
That. I love that magazine.
But he would have pictures of him like fishing for, Chinooks in Alaska. Like he was one of the first writers to promote that, and then I would say it probably then Canadian sport fishing came along, and then Tallow and Henry were promoting a lot of the West Coast fisheries. But I think Daryl was really the first one to, I met Bill Rivers, a writer who used to write for Daryl's magazine.
I remember Bill. Yeah.
And I used to love the way he wrote. He was like, if you guys follow In Fisherman, like Steve Quinn was very similar writer to Bill Rivers. Bill Rivers was like our Steve Quinn, and I talk to Bill once in a while online, and I tell him like how I used, as a kid, I used to love reading his articles, but I'm almost 50 now, and he's like, dude, you're making me feel really old. But it was a great magazine, and it was one that my grandfather kept. He kept it between the chair and his big, like 4 foot tall ashtray. Okay, this is what Grandpa did, and I'd have to go over there and like I would grab it out of the magazine. Those V-shaped magazines.
Yeah,
I do. It'd be between like the Sears Wish book and like the phone book would be in there, and I'd have Ontario Fisherman, and I would go on the couch and I would read that magazine because Grandpa always had it in his living room. So,
what was the first magazine that you saw in that holder? And it was famous, I would say, all over Ontario, probably Canada. What was that first magazine that was in that holder that you always saw?
The first one?
The first one. Because
Field of Streams.
Mom, Grandma, Grandpa, they would all put it as the first one because the minute they turned on the boob tube, they wanted to know what was on. The old
TV Guide. That was in there. The TV Guide. Oh, yeah.
TV Guide was the most famous magazine in those holders.
Yeah.
Again, we're dating ourselves, lads, but of the four names that were mentioned, Frank Beebe, Dave Mercer, T.R. Michaels, and Gord Pizer, the correct answer was Frank Beebe.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting indeed. All right. I don't even, to be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure I even know who that is. And I probably should. But I don't. All right. Question 17. Who is the renowned Canadian angler known as Dr. Catch-em-all? Did either of you have an answer to this?
No, I had nothing. I came up with a blank.
If I could show you my page, it'll be blurry. I have Pizer ? Literally, that's what I wrote down because he's the only one that's kind of known to be a doctor, even though he's not technically a doctor of fish, but he is the doc, right?
You might have got it, Jay. You might have got it. My goodness.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Pizer.
Interesting. Well, the four choices are Barry Stokes, Peter Morse, Gord Ellis, or Big Jim.
Ooh.
Oh, wow. Gord Ellis. It might be Gord Ellis, but I don't know if he's a doctor either.
No, he's a radio host.
Yeah, CBC radio host up in Thunder Bay.
Yeah, I'm still sticking with Pizer. I know that's the list. If I had to pick that list, who are the other? So go through it one more time.
Yeah, we'll go through. It was Barry Stokes.
Yep.
Peter Morse or Morse.
Yep.
Gord Ellis or Big Jim.
I don't know.
We got Angelo and Pete from Joe Vitani. How you doing, Joe? Pizer, yeah. Big Jim Vitani. He's got multiple answers. I call Big Jim. Yeah.
Dr.
Well, we know the answer we'll get if we call Jim.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm wondering. I don't know. The first two guys I don't know. So.
Yeah. No, I don't either. So I wouldn't have got this right either. But Peter Morse or Morse, Morse is his last name. Peter Morse is Dr. Catch-em-all.
Huh.
Anybody know who? I don't know. I don't know who that is.
I'll have to put that on my list of people to Google.
Yep.
So he's there's a Peter Morse, and He is. Looks like he's a. No, there's a couple. There's a couple different Peter Morsays. Morsay, and he's a Canadian angler.
Yeah. Watch why he's from Tennessee or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. There's.
It sounds from Quebec. Maybe it's from
It
Quebec.
does sound Quebec. Yeah.
Yes.
We're gonna have to research that one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mark,
so
I have to look
and
up-
what I'm going to do, because where I get these questions, you can take a button, which will give you an explanation on how they arrived at that answer. So when we do this again, I will make sure that I have that. It was an awful lot of writing, and I didn't have the
Sure.
time. But yeah, so as it is, out of those four, Barry Stokes, Peter Morsay, Gord Ellis, or Big Jim, the answer was Peter Morsay.
Okay.
All right, so we will give 0 points for that question. Now we're moving on to question 18. We're in the home stretch, guys. Question 18. Who founded the Canadian Angler Hall of Fame?
I said Tom Brooks, the president of the Shimano, and I think he was the president of the Canadian Sport Fishing Industry Association at one time. And just a real sort of rock solid guy, and still involved in fishing access advocacy and things like that.
Lawrence, I would have said the same. I would have had the same answer. I would have thought for sure it was Tom. But Jay, did you have an initial answer?
So I actually put down the Spring Fishing and Boat Show. I think Andy and Vita took the idea and ran with it, and they have a lot of help with it. But I think they were the founders of that idea. I think it came from them, and I'm sure they, knowing them, they took input from others, but they are the champions. Like, someone's got to organize it, and I think it's them. But they obviously take advice. And for those that don't know, once you're in the Hall of Fame, you're part of the committee now to find the next person. So I think that once they started to have a bit of a committee, I'm sure it kind of runs itself. But I think it's Andy and Vita, and I want to say Spring Fishing and Boat Show or CSFL, or they have so many great businesses. All of the above, but that's what I'm saying it is.
I think Red Fisher was one of their first inductees, but
I think he was. Yeah, I think he was.
So here are the four answers that they provided.
Okay.
Al Lindner, Cyril Adams,
Nope.
Derek Winstone,
Nope.
or Tom Scalaris.
Nope.
Al Lindner's American.
Yep.
I think Tom Scalaris is American.
Yep.
So 2 out of those 4 aren't even Canadian for the Canadian Angler Hall of Fame. Are you using some AI chat for these questions, Scotty?
I
The
started.
first version of AI chat.
I started, and then I did my best to go in and look for the actual answer.
Yeah.
But Cyril Adams is the answer.
Cyril Adams.
Cyril
Okay.
Adams.
Write that. How do you spell that?
Cyril Adams, Adams. Jay's gonna Google it.
Cyril Adams. Ooh, the first 2 hits I got were obituaries. That's not good.
Oof.
Yeah, nothing's coming up right away. So I typed in Cyril Adams, Anglers Canada. How do you spell Cyril?
Cyril. Did anybody get that answer? Did anybody get? I doubt anybody got that answer.
So it looks like Cyril Adams enjoyed fishing, but yeah, I don't see a link here. Anyways, it is what it is.
See, I would love. This is where Big Jim. It would be awesome to have Jim here to ver, because I guarantee he'd know the answer to that question.
Yeah, he would.
Okay, so none of us got it right, and I don't even know if it's 100% right now that we've discussed it in great length. So 18 is one of those infamous questions. It could be, it could not. Question 19: which angler is known for popularizing fly fishing in Canada? I had a couple answers. Don Freshy was one. Brian Chan was another. Mike Borger is my third, and Phil Rowley is the fourth. So you've got Don Fresky, Brian Chan, Mike Morger, and Phil Rowley. Which of those four do you think popularized fly fishing in Canada?
I was thinking of the guys on the new Fly Fisher, but these guys must predate those guys, right? So yeah.
So that's who I had. I have. So basically, there's the three of them. There's Colin McEwen,
Yeah.
Bill Spicer,
Yeah.
and in recent years, Mark Melnick's been picking up the helm as the host.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So and I think Colin McEwen, if I recall, was
You started
the
it.
original host.
Yeah.
So
It's his show. He produces and owns it.
Yeah, so I'm going with Colin and Bill and Mark's in the fold now too. So
Oh yeah.
you know, all credit to Mark. He does a great job. Like I don't fly fish, but I love their YouTube videos. I watch them all the time.
100%.
Great. I love we don't have enough of those. And I think when I was a younger angler, guys, I didn't like the destination shows as much. But when you're old and you just want to friggin' retire and you're like, I just want to go fishing all the time, those destination episodes are like Mark Melnick is like fly fishing in Patagonia, and I'm like, I don't give a shit about catching a fish. I just want to be fishing in Patagonia. If I catch a fish, that's a bonus, right? Like, so, yeah, I think I'm with Sparkus. Yeah, Bill Spicer. Like it's like a Mark Melnick, Bill Spicer. Like I could just draw a line between those two and be like, that's my answer. So
well, I know Don did a lot of fly tying, you know, on the show.
Yeah.
So you know, and Mike, I know he's a part of that community as well. I don't know Phil Rowley, but I do know Brian Chan, and he's on that show on the regular. That is the correct answer of the four answers given.
Interesting.
Yep, Brian Chan was the correct answer, number 19. Now, this is where this last question. And it depended on, because right now we have a tie between you two. This is the last question of the 20. There is a bonus question if you both get this last question right. Interesting though, with the names that are provided, I'll be stunned to see who gets it right. But let's go. All right, question 19.
20. Question 20.
Which Canadian angler holds the record for the most IGFA world records? What was your initial answer, Lawrence?
I'm not a clue. Not a clue. Yeah.
No clue.
Yeah.
No clue.
Okay.
No clue.
So here are the four.
I was gonna say Kenneth.
Yeah.
Do you include those people that catch those little tiny fish? You know,
Yep.
the little tiny fish?
That's why I'm saying Kenneth.
Oh, is that it? That is? Okay.
He now I don't know this for sure, but of all the people I know, Lawrence, in the fishing world, of all denominations of angling, we'll call it that, Kenneth, he's up over 1,000 species now, well over. I think he's like at 1,300 species now. Like it's amazing. He's traveled all over the world catching species. I'd say Kenneth, but I know it's not him, but he's my IGFA world record holder.
And it would be really cool if most of those fish were longer than your finger, right? But you know, they're also tiny, and the hooks they use are just microscopic. It's incredible.
It's interesting. You've got that's Mike. That's a great answer, Mr. Jensen. Joe Bob Azumi. I mean, let's face it. He's caught a lot of species of fish. So the only thing I don't remember Bob doing was a lot of beating of the chest of big fish or world record fish. One gentleman that does come to mind of the four that were made available as answers, Bob Azumi was definitely one of the answers. Henry Wallace Chuck was the second answer. Red Fisher was the third. Yeah. And I put in Big Jim as number 4.
You did, eh?
Yeah.
So those are the 4 on the multiple choice?
Those are the 4. Yeah, they had another name on there that I didn't know. I didn't even know who it was. So
I bet you Wallace Chuck would be going for those records.
So Bob Azumi, Henry Wallace Chuck, Red Fisher, or Big Jim.
Henry. Oh, it's Henry Wash Chuck. Yeah. Henry Wash the truck. He's the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you both got a point. So Henry Wash Chuck has the most IGF world records as a Canadian angler.
Yeah, because he lives in Florida.
Yeah, and he's made a habit of chasing like oddball marine species, and he's Canadian, but he does live in Florida. I agree. So
and he fishes year round. You know, where there's big fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. So we have a tie. So here's the bonus question, and I want to see all the answers from you folks that are still watching. And this is the last question that will wrap up the show. It's actually an awesome question. I love this as a question. There's the bonus question. Who appeared the most on Bob Azumi's Real Fishing Show as a guest?
I know. No, I'm guessing. I think I know.
As a guest, not a feature, not regular.
Oh.
But who appeared the most on Bob Azumi's Real Fishing Show as a guest?
A guest.
Great answer, Jeremy. Mariko. That's a great answer.
Yeah, but she's a feature.
Wayne is a feature. Joe, another great answer, but Wayne is a feature. He's a regular on the show. So as a guest, as an actual guest, not part of the Real Fishing Group, company, corporation, who was featured the most as a guest?
Well,
I said Big Jim.
As a lifelong fan of Bobo, I'm going to say this, that the best episodes watching of his show when I was growing up, the best was when he was with Gord Pizer. And he did at least a show with Pizer every season. I swear, at least once a year it was with Gord Pizer. So I'm going with the doc, Gord Pizer.
I'm changing my answer. I probably shouldn't, but I met his neighbor. I used to go to these outdoor shows and sell flashlights. And remember that guy? And he said he fished with Bob more than anyone else. Like he was his guest more than anyone else. But I don't know. That was his claim to fame, anyways.
So I've seen a lot of great answers. Sparkus, of course, Gord for sure. Gord was actually part of the Real Fishing. I do believe he started as a guest and then he got signed on and was a regular. So great answer though, Sparkus. Jack Levert, I don't know how many times he appeared, Mark, but I do remember him being on the show. Gord, Ed McKenzie's saying Mercer. Steve Shaw is saying Mercer as well. Some great answers here. Okay, here are your multiple choice answers. These are the 4 choices that they provided. Mike Iaconelli.
Who?
Mike Iaconelli.
Oh, Mike Iaconelli. No.
Okay. Dave Mercer.
Maybe.
Hank Parker. Or Bill Dance.
Oh my goodness.
So those are your 4 answers. Mike Iaconelli, Dave Mercer, Hank Parker, or Bill Dance. Who appeared the most on Bob?
If you have to pick out of all of those that was on the show the most, jeez, like those 4 have only been on that show. I can count them on one hand the number of times they've been on Mercer's show. I know that because I'm a fanboy of Bob, big time. So I know Mercer's been on. Mercer's been on the show for sure. I know Parker's been on the show for sure. I'd have to say, damn, that's a tough one.
I know it's a tough one.
I'm going with Mercer, but I don't think that's the right answer. I'm torn between Mercer and Hank Parker.
Lawrence, what's your final answer?
I'm going with his neighbor, the flashlight guy. I don't know. I'd say Mercer too, because I don't know. Like I don't imagine Mike Iaconelli. How many? I know Bob likes to go down and fish tournaments down there, but did he film a lot of shows down in the States with these guys, Dansk and Iaconelli? I mean, Bob filmed most of his shows up in Canada, right?
And so those guys were on the show. They'd come up here and be on the show.
Yeah, and they're busy guys.
Like Roland Martin was on the show more than any of those guys.
Yeah.
Right?
They're buddies. They go way back.
Yeah.
They're the same vintage.
So believe it or not, I was a little torn too, because my answer actually would have been Big Jim.
Yeah, that was mine.
I almost thought that he was as much a part of that show as Bob Zumi growing up, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Big Jim was not one of the answers, although these were the answers that I was provided. And I would love for someone to correct me if, in fact, it is wrong. Bill Dance was the runner-up.
Runner-up.
He was the runner-up.
Wow.
The number one most seen on the Real Fishing Show as a guest was Dave Mercer.
Yay, Dave!
Yeah.
You go to Canadian Boys.
Yeah.
Side by side.
Very cool. Well, listen, this has been an absolute blast doing this. Again, I will make sure that when I do this again, I will make sure to have the answer, because they give details to the answer. And at that point, once we read that, then we can challenge some of these. But again, the salmon capital of the world, Campbell River, I know it's a hotbed, but is it the capital? I don't know, but they apparently it is. And then, of course, smallmouth bass, what was the size limit? I know perhaps maybe just lately some new limits have been imposed that have not caught up to the answers to this quiz. But needless to say,
bait fuel.
Yeah,
I mean, that's got to be that bait. That stuff selling like hotcakes, right?
Yeah, 100%. Well, we had a lot of fun based on
That's good. It was good.
Stuck around as long as they did. Suggested that it was a lot of fun. So to you two and Jim, who didn't make it, but we'll make it next week. Next week, we're going to be doing, as you mentioned, Lawrence, some pick 5. And folks, I invite you guys to come and gals to come as well with some suggestions. Pick 5 of your best suggestions when it comes to angling for Christmas presents, last minute Christmas presents, and because it will be next week will be a last minute situation. So yeah, we'll have a lot of fun doing that next week. Any last comments that either one of you want to share with us before we go?
Hey Jay, good thing Big Jim wasn't here. We would have kicked our asses.
Oh God! Yeah. We kept he's in the advanced stream. We're in the general stream.
Yeah. Well, listen, as always, I thank you guys so much for coming here every Monday and sharing with us your time, your knowledge, and some of your tips and tricks. We really appreciate it. It's amazing how many years we've been doing this, and we continue to do it. Folks still want it. It seems still to remain very popular, and it's because of the folks that watch and the 3 of you that come every Monday to do this that we truly appreciate, and it allows us to grow.
And you, Scotty, and you, my friend. It wouldn't happen without you, buddy.
Right on. Well, I would say in good timing, a good segue into our closing. It's up to Dave to take us away. Everybody have yourself a great week. Love you all. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next Monday. All the best, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
See ya.
Peace.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end.